If there was any battle of titans, it's probably going to be this.
It's a battle of billionaires in the world of satellite broadband as Elon Musk's Starlink and Mukesh Ambani's Reliance Jio go head-to-head for control for India's internet landscape.
Elon Musk owned Starlink has applied to the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center.
And we're also hopefully looking forward to bringing Starlink to India as well. The Starlink internet.
Two behemoths fighting for the domination over Indian internet, and for both of them, no weapons will be off the table. For this battle, be it regulations, political favors, laws, policies, hidden motives, everything will be uncovered in this video. This will be the fiercest battle in the history of Indian businesses for the future projected internet market size of $69.62 billion by 2028. It is CAGR of 9.4%. And worry not, I will make it so easy that even a 10th grade student whom I wish to see more such videos will be able to understand it. So sit tight, grab your notes and subscribe to MBA while you are at it, because this battle may very well decide the fate of Indian telecom industry. First, to set the context, Reliance Jio, which is owned by Mr. Mukesh Ambani, wiped the floor of Indian telecom sector when he provided a free internet across India for 6 months. This act sent multiple internet service providers packing, a forced merger. And now, Jio controls about 39.4% of Indian telecom market. And Jio did it using traditional technology, which is how the internet that you are accessing right now is coming through. Miles and miles of underground cables that have been laid throughout the world called Terrestrial Broadband services. Now the other giant is Starlink, which is backed by Mr. Musk, which brought in revolution in internet service provider market, as we see it. So instead of using terrestrial broadband services, Starlink tried to enter into the space. In that also, traditional way through space was to use bus-sized satellite called geostationary satellites, which used to orbit around 35,000 kilometers from Earth's surface. But normally, the internet speed was slow, and that too with huge latency due to such large distances. What Starlink has been able to do is to make use of LEO or low Earth orbit satellites. So LEOs are the type of satellite that orbits in the range of 2000 km from the Earth. But these satellites move at the speed of 27,000 km and they transmit to the receiver disk on Earth. Now, as you can see that this is a short time for any long duration transmission. So a series of satellites are needed for any meaningful connection. For the same reason, it is more like a net of satellites around the globe that will be interconnected to each other to provide the services on the ground. And this technology has proved itself quite well, like in Ukraine, where any on-ground telecom has been destroyed due to obvious reasons. Starlink proved to be a miracle. Before jumping into in-depth analysis, we need to define what the spectrum is and why is it being auctioned, and we'll go a little technical here. The way you receive any of the telecom services is through analog waves, and these waves have a bandwidth and frequency, and its variation is defined as a spectrum. What these companies are purchasing is a permission from the government of India to allow to transmit data at a specific frequency and bandwidth. An air right belongs to the people of the nation, that is the government. Also, these companies cannot transmit data in one frequency as it will jumble up and distort the data. So for example, 5G has a higher bandwidth than 4G, which means it can carry more data, but due to higher frequency has a shorter range. Okay, that's enough of me geeking out. With this knowledge, let's jump into what are the ways the government can rent the spectrum and how does India currently do it. There are two ways in which government can allocate the air rights to private companies. Administration route, and second is auctioning, which is not something new to India, where the government segments different bandwidth and sets a minimum price, and companies are asked to bid for those set of spectrum simultaneously and through multiple rounds. Alternate to this is allocation by government, where the government decides allocation of spectrum based on its analysis of the countries and whether or not it has the resources to sustain the allocated term. Now both has its pros and cons, but it seems to have split the industry into two. On one side, domestic companies like Reliance Jio and Vodafone Idea are backing the idea to auction, whereas the tech innovative behemoths or the new entrant into the Indian market like Starlink, Amazon, Bharti Group backed OneWeb seems to favor allocation. With that, the strategy for Jio and VI versus Starlink, Amazon and Bharti Airtel backed OneWeb is totally different. At least how they plan to enter into the market. Jio, with its 5149 partnership with European-based satellite broadband services company SES, will focus on geostationary and MEO or medium Earth orbit satellites, which might have a huge latency and less speed but easier to apply as it does not require a net of satellites. While the Starlink, Amazon and OneWeb will be betting on LEO from the very beginning, which means low latency and faster internet. In fact, Starlink has launched over 2,000 satellites and has permits to launch over 4,000, while Amazon has not yet launched any LEO satellites, but it has plans to launch a constellation of 3,236 satellites starting next year. Bharti Group backed OneWeb has launched over 300 of its satellites. But why is there such a difference of opinion between auction and allocation? Well, to speak it bluntly, it is because of good old self-interest. Jio, which is currently a leader in ISP or Internet Service Provider, is hoping to create a barrier to the foreign players as it clearly lacks technology. Also, Reliance believes that opening a floodgates to established foreign players like Starlink without auction will allow them runaway success, just like Amazon e-commerce business, which will hurt Indian firms and create an uneven playing field. Ambani's Reliance Retail has locked horns with Amazon, but it lacks the US rival's market share in the e-commerce space. Same thing happened here too. And while you ask why Starlink and others favor allocation is as they clearly are the leader when it comes to technology and they have deep pockets. So if it comes to allocation by the government to the best, they are clearly the winner. Plus foreign satellite internet firms are concerned that an auction by India will raise the likelihood of other nations following the suit, increasing the cost and the investment. So is Reliance Jio really at a disadvantage here? Well, yes and no. Clearly Jio is no match to Starlink when it comes to satellite internet. But remember we said earlier that the projected internet market will be around $69.62 billion by 2028? Well, satellite-based internet is expected to grow about $1.9 billion, which is of course a significant but still a small proportion of the total Indian internet market. Because satellite-based internet is specifically better for the remote location that are harder to reach and away from the city. Undoubtedly, LEOs are the future of the internet, but it has to scale drastically to even come close to the fiber cables. With this, we are at the end of the video. As always, like, share, subscribe to MBA Fight for more such interesting content. See you soon.